I went to see her and she couldn't lay down. She wasn't even sick. But that was 3 months ago. Mom said last time she talked to her.
All right, let's call this meeting to order. Join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Kirshner will lead us in a prayer.
Okay, let's take a moment for a quick prayer here. Heavenly Father, you said, knock and the door shall be open. We are here asking for your wisdom in taking care of the business of the people that we represent. We ask that you in a special way watch over those who are protecting our freedoms and their families. We ask all this through your Son. Amen. Amen.
Roll call.
Commissioner Thomas?
Here.
Commissioner Kirshner?
Here.
Commissioner Stacy?
Here.
I'll accept the motion to approve the digital audio-video recording of the previous board session from Tuesday, January 22nd.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirshner?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes. All right. Do we want to do our first county administrator report?
I'm here on official sheriff's office business. Is Stacy Wilson here?
Oh, no.
That's a familiar voice.
Ms. Wilson, I was here yesterday to serve you a document, but somebody played hooky.
I did, yes, I did.
So I had to come back today to serve you official paperwork.
Thank you.
I think she needs to read out loud the bottom line, if nothing
She
else.
needs to read all of it.
I just want you to cuff her.
Not unless you have the pink ones with you. So many commissioners to count, budgets to project, agendas to navigate, projects to manage, and people to please. And you do it all with ease. Thank you for 13 years of outstanding service to the Seneca County Commissioner's Office. We hereby, on the 7th day of February 2019, sentence you, Stacy Wilson, to keep doing a great job on behalf of the citizens of Seneca County.
Now, on your 13th year work anniversary, I'm sure you've discovered the following. What bosses don't know won't hurt them. Everyone makes mistakes. The trick is to make them when nobody's looking. The reward for work well done is the opportunity to do more. Never underestimate your ability to do your boss's job. And believe it or not, there's a bright side to all of this. At the end of every day is one day closer to retirement.
Thanks,
Oh
Karen.
boy, thank you guys. Oh, we should have canceled board day today.
You are appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And you're welcome.
Since
I was responsible for hiring
You were
He was one of the commissioners when I was hired, so.
You know what I
If
told
that's why you were here, thank you. I feel even better. So just pretend that's why you're here.
She when she started, she was figuring things out, and we knew we were gonna get her to be the administrator at some point when
Cindy left.
anyway, I said, well, the trick to being the administrator is you got to keep at least 2 commissioners happy, and it doesn't always have to be the same 2, but you have to be happy at any one time.
What is the count of the number of commissioners? I don't know if I should ask it or not.
I'm up to 13.
Wow, 1 a year.
How many good ones?
13.
Well done. I wish you would have said 12.
Yes,
I've got a couple ideas.
Stop looking at me.
Are you the last Dem, by the way? Has there been any Dems?
Yes, I am. I think I'm the last Dem in the county, elected or not.
Well, should we go ahead and move to Kathy's report since she's here? And give you a moment to recover?
Yeah.
All right, good morning.
Good morning, Kathy.
Well, it's great that Mr. Nutter is here because he's part of this presentation. So we have some information for you. I have Beth Anway, our business administrator, with me. And we just wanted to let you know what's going on with child protection and the funding. And do you have one more? Okay. Here's what's going on. I know your fellow commissioners talk a lot about this. We talk a lot about it. Talked a lot about it with the previous commissioner here. So on the first page is just some general information about what we do. We protect kids, we protect adults, we facilitate adoptions when kids are in our system. We place kids in kinship, all sorts of things. So that first page is just a little information about that. And then we get into what's going on currently. So Beth prepared this and she has lots of information in her head that's not on here. So if you have questions, she's the gal, right? So here's what's currently going on. We have about 18 kids in care, and here's how it breaks out. Kinship is someone the child knows. It could be a relative. It doesn't have to be a relative. But the reason kinship is important is because it's not so traumatic to the kid when we remove them from the home if we have to due to safety factors. So they know somebody, it's a little less traumatic, and that's why kinship is a good piece of this work. Some kids need more services that are available through a kinship, so they're in foster care or maybe a therapeutic home or a residential placement. So that's kind of how it looks right there on that second slide. And then we kind of get into what kind of placements are we putting kids in? Okay, so we're getting higher need kids. There's a lot of kids in the system in Ohio due to opiate and prescription abuse. The statewide picture is that placements are going up, which costs more money. But so Beth has broken out for you the average per diem by placement type. You can see a family foster home is your least expensive placement, and residential treatment is the most expensive placement. And she gave you some information over the 3 years, 16, 17, and 18, how that looks. Our placements have been increasing.
Kathy, let me ask you a question about this slide.
Yes.
Family foster home,
Mm-hmm.
this shows at $31.34 a day.
Mm-hmm.
And a group home is $208 a day. Why is there so much disparity there? I mean, isn't there a number that it takes to take care of a kid, whether it's a kinship or whether it's an outside placement?
That's a really good question. The difference is, like in a residential center, they have additional services that wouldn't be available in a foster home. Like, so they'll have groups, they'll have individual counseling on site sometimes, they'll have,
But I think maybe to narrow mine down a little bit is that if it's a kinship, they receive one amount. And if it's a foster home without a group home, they receive a much larger amount. Why would that be?
well, that is an issue in the state of Ohio, one that we have been advocating for kinship to get more financial support when they take on a child, because you're right, there is an amount to taking additional
Sure.
children into your home,
It
right?
just seems to me the cost that they determine should be the cost they determine. If somebody is good enough out of their heart to take a child in, they're not doing it for the money, but you
Right.
would think that whatever the cost is, it is, and they would be compensated for that care.
Yeah, so there's a couple different pieces of kinship, financial support that they're available. But I think in some families that still doesn't meet the need. So one of the things we did, I talked to you guys about the PRC plan. Those are flexible dollars that we have. We put an additional piece in our PRC plan for those who qualify, that they could get some additional financial help, because we feel it's really important to support those kin families.
Okay,
So-
just,
And we're advocating for statewide legislature through our associations on that as well, because we do think that's very important.
So this 3134, is that kinship dollars? That's foster.
It's
Yeah.
family foster homes. Yeah, kinship, it doesn't get a per diem, they get a small amount of money up front, $525 if they qualify, and then an additional $300 like every 6 months. It's very small.
Right.
The amount they get in kinship is very small. It's a maximum of $2,625, I think.
yeah, which is very, very
Over like
sad,
3.5
because, I mean,
years.
You have families
Right.
who have a couple of kids, let's say, you know, at a time when they're going to school, or they've got dance lessons, or whatever, and if the parents aren't, the biological parents aren't supporting these kids,
Right.
which is the case more times than not, now you put the burden, not only the burden of watching the kids, but now you put a financial burden on these folks. God bless them. But it just seems to me that that's really, by description, unfair.
Yeah, it's important. And we are definitely working on that because, like you say, you know, these families don't do it for the money. They want to see this kid succeed. The kid can't be in their home for whatever reason. Our kinship families are really important.
Yeah.
So-
Well, I mean, God bless them all for stepping up.
Yeah, right.
That's the first thing, but I just think that anything that we can do to get a more fair treatment financially for them, we ought to at least advocate for. You know, we can't make any legislative rules here, but we can certainly advocate for that.
For sure.
And can you tell me, from a case management standpoint, what kind of investment you have in managing cases that are in group home versus family foster? I would feel like you'd have more administrative tasks and more case management time with foster families than maybe a residential facility. Is that fair or not?
Well, one of the requirements.
Because this is direct cost, right?
This is just placement costs. This
Yeah.
isn't the cost of staffing to do all the visits and case
Right.
management and all that kind of stuff. So there's requirements for visits with the kids to see them directly each month. And then we have to see parents as well. And of course, we want to support foster families as well. So there's a lot of case management going on with these placements. And one of the challenges is on the residential end, we don't have residential placements here in Seneca County per se. So the workers are traveling quite a few miles. In some cases, we've had to place kids out of state to meet their needs, and that is not uncommon in Ohio. That's one of the issues Ohio is working on. How can we grow providers so we don't have to have kids out of state? We've had kids in Missouri. We just sent somebody to Tennessee, 2 workers to Tennessee to ensure that kid was safe, because there's a whole plan going on there. But it's challenging.
So the case
work.
management responsibilities is consistent across all 4 categories, or it's not? Like if you have somebody in kinship, there's a case manager, they see the family 2 times a week, or whatever it is. If they're in a group home, they go once a month.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
I'm just trying to get a handle on the,
I would say the investment in case management is the same, because we have to meet, there are requirements for the number of visits and case management for every kid, and that doesn't matter
Regardless where they're placed.
where they're placed.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Does that
answers it.
answer?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, okay. So that's just kind of how our placements are running. So if you go to the next page here, this is kind of our history of placement costs. And you can see it was going down and now it's going up, and that is the trend in Ohio. Opiates is playing a huge part in that. We look to best estimate is $1 million this year for placement costs. And that is just a little history. Do you
Yeah, I
have
mean,
questions
that's
about
something-
it?
Well, I mean, without getting too political, I mean, I think this is a subset of the problem that we have with drugs coming across the border. You know, I know that we certainly have situations in which people are dying from overdoses, but then a subset of that is that parents who are users now have to have their kids go somewhere, and there's a cost associated directly with that as well. Now, on the 732, 852, is that a particular, that's a pretty good spike for a year. Are there 2 or 3 cases that might have caused that, or is it just a general placement?
Well, I'll start out and I'll let Beth jump in here.
Okay.
But the type of placement we need to meet the child's need is more expensive with this set of kids we currently have in care.
Okay,
I don't know, Beth, if you want to add on to that.
Yeah, I mean, the trend for residential care they're increasing. And in a couple slides, you'll see, like right now we have one child who's in a placement and the per diem is $361 a day.
okay.
So for that child alone, that's if they're in our placement for a year, that's over $130,000 just for one child. So I mean, the residential costs are getting higher, and the needs of the children, you know, maybe due to
Yeah, just, I
the
mean,
age
deeper-
of the children. Sometimes the age of the children that we're bringing in is a little higher, so they're a little less likely to go to a family foster home, and maybe they need more therapeutic. So it's more expensive, but it's both. It's an increase in children and an increase in the cost of care.
Well, it's not necessarily an increase in the, direct related to the number if you divide it out. It could be that there are kids that have some special needs, older or drug-related issues that cost more per diem.
The age of the kids is increasing that we're taking in, and the placement costs both,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
We've had some teens recently that had some high needs that we've
Yeah.
had to place. So this is where I'm kind of going to let Beth talk. She broke down the funding for you to see the local, state, and federal picture. So I don't know if you want to say something about that, Beth?
Well, you know, you can see the breakout there, and this will vary widely from county to county because a lot of it depends on the kids that you're bringing into care, whether they are the federal 4E funding, whether they're eligible for federal 4E funding. So right now, we're running around 80% of the kids that we take into care are eligible for 4E funding, which doesn't give you 100% reimbursement, but it gives you a percentage of reimbursement based on, you know, back on their care. So right now we're running, in 2018, we were running about 42% of the cost of care was covered by federal funds, and 41% by state funds, and 17% by local. Again, that'll vary year to year, county to county, depending on the kids that you're bringing into care, and the placements, obviously, that you're putting them in. But that's how we ran in 18. And the state funding is really just one allocation that the state of Ohio gives us for state protection to cover the federal match. And then the rest depends on local funds.
And that is prescribed in ORC. So I know that CCAO is, you know, aware of this issue and also talking about what's going to happen in the new budget, and it's a priority for our association as well.
Community Commissioners Association of Ohio, CCAO.
Sorry, talked in it. I'm there,
No,
sorry.
that's okay. We all do it. I do it as well, yeah.
Government speak, I guess. Okay, so if you get to the next slide, this is, Beth did a really nice job of breaking down cost per child. So you can get a feel for, okay, we're showing you how much it costs, but what does that look like per kid? And, you know, how does that vary according to the placement? So I'll give you a minute to look at that if you have questions for Beth.
Yeah, this was just kind of a snapshot in time, and down there is the age of the child. So you can see, like, you know, the 1, 5, 8. So those are just the placements we had at a particular time in 2018, and the cost of care per child based on their age. So, and I showed there, over in 2018, our average per diem overall children was $154 a day, and then the average cost per child was over $56,000. And then there's that $361 a day that I said is our highest placement right now.
All right. And then if you flip to the next page, a piece of this is when we have to remove a child permanently, they can negotiate an adoption assistance rate. And the state gives $250 if needed, and then there's a negotiation if there's additional needs. And so this is what this picture looks like, and I'll let Beth explain it a little bit further.
Yeah, so currently we have 55 kids that we're paying some type of subsidy for the adoption assistance, which this is, you know, these are the happy stories, the kids that actually get adopted. And so we do negotiate every time a child is adopted. We negotiate a rate with the family based on the kid's needs. Some kids have a lot of needs for medical help and psychological help sometimes. So we negotiate that. And again, the state pays a portion of it. And if they're 4E eligible again, we get some 4E funding on that as well. So that just shows the breakdown of currently, like in 2018, we paid out $59,160 for our local match on those 55 kids that we're currently paying for.
All right, and then this next slide gives you an idea what are counties around the state. There was just like a really informal email that went out. How much are your commissioners contributing to care? And that's the graph Beth has done for you on the left. And then on the right is our history. And so I alluded to Mr. Nutter. So there was a choice the board made at that time. They didn't want to be in a position of 2008 where we came and said we needed $650,000. So they chose to give us money to kind of front load, so they didn't get in that position. Our current balance is about $600,000 on that. Our estimated cost is going to be $1 million for this year. I believe we asked for $250,000. That's kind of just a picture of where we're at, and which the next slide is just that $1 million kind of projected cost. We really just wanted to let you know where we're at. I don't want to surprise you about anything. I don't know, Beth, do you have any additional comments you want to share?
I don't think so.
Well, I just have to say that you guys are doing a great job out there. We appreciate what you're doing. Recent awards are indicative of what kind of a job we're doing. But, you know, from a practical standpoint, if we are sitting here as our neighboring commissioners, we're concerned about coming up with significant dollars. I mean, significant dollars, 7 figures above and beyond what they had done in years previous. So, thank you for your efficiency, and thank you for doing what needs to be done to protect kids.
Well, thank you for supporting us. We got amazing staff. Beth does great with the money. Jeff has a great team. We've had a little bit of turnover. People have went into different jobs in the agency or outside of the agency, and we have some new staff coming along, and they're doing a great job. So proud of our team. They're amazing. So, but just wanted to give you a picture of where we're at.
Thank you. Can we get some like quarterly reporting on where we're at with this so we know how to program this in from a funding standpoint?
Sure. So one of Beth's staff does a graph each month, and I can get that to Stacy. I've been sending it to her, but you know, we'll make sure we get that. If you would like to see that combined into like a quarterly total, I'm sure we could do that as well for you.
If we need to make budget adjustments, I'd rather know that sooner than later if
For
we
sure.
can see the trend. So,
Yeah, and just so you know, there'll be some information coming out that we'll share with you. The state's gonna start doing something new in March, releasing some kind of trends with child protection. And then every year there's a fact book from PCSAO, which is an association that comes out. We always give you a copy. So you can kind of leaf through that and see what's happening in counties. Like if you wanna, you know, it's always good to kind of get a little comparison data. So we'll get that to you when
Yeah,
that comes
and I know
out.
the data lags, but I remember getting on the site for the state. And Seneca County is listed comparatively to other counties similar size, et cetera. So we do have the ability to get on there.
Okay.
I know it's probably 90 days old at
Yeah.
the state level, but it does give you an indication as to trends.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
thank you. You guys don't need to stick around.
What's that?
Back and protect kids.
All right, we'll do that.
Thanks, Bill.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, so we'll go back to the county administrator report.
Okay, I'm not quite sure what we're doing, so you'll give me some feedback.
You can just
on what I
stop right
give you.
there.
Right. No report necessary, right. Did want to update you, after doing our Thursday meetings, Nikki and I kind of sat down and went over the agenda, and then Vicky from the AT had actually sent Jimmy a request. We're required to send our agendas out 24 hours in advance, and that's what we've done for years, and why we didn't think of this sooner, but Vicky had mentioned something to Jimmy about, they get it 24 hours in advance, but by the time they do their press releases, they don't get it out actually until the morning of our meeting. So Nikki and I came up with, and we can do this with a Tuesday schedule or Thursday schedule, but we're gonna require all departments have their requests in by Monday, end of business day. It'll give Nikki a chance to get the agenda done by the end of day on Tuesday. Nikki will send it out to the normal press release that we do, and then it'll get published in the paper on Wednesday, and that gives the citizens an extra day. We never really thought of that before, but we just gotta make that little change, see how it works, see if people like it, and it should work with our Tuesday schedule if we decide to go back to Tuesday. So just a little update in case anybody asks, or they start getting their agendas earlier and not seeing it on the day before, so you still know what's coming. Since I didn't do a report last month, I just figure I'd give some numbers where we're at the end of the year. Our carryover ended up at about 2.2. Our budgets were at 17.7. Actual expenses as of December 31st was only 17.2. There are still some purchase orders out, but we got to cut it off at December 31st. So revenue ended up coming in at 17.3. I think we projected it at 17.5 last year.
But we did not use any of the Medicaid money.
We did not. It is still in that fund, and we did also do 3 payments last year of the budget stabilization of the general funds carryover. Current revenue expenses for this year at the end of January, our revenue was sitting about $888,000. Because of the federal shutdown, we did not get ICE payments, and we didn't get any FSA payments, but we were assured that payments will start to be coming in. So it's a little low, but one without collecting property taxes until mid-year, that always seems a little low. Our percentages seem low. And our expenses are sitting at about 1.9. So we're doing on track. I can give more details, less details. I figured at least budget updates at least every month. If you want reports weekly, I need some little help on what you need, and for stuff's going on, obviously we'll update.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see, the carryover, the true carryover,
Okay.
at least monthly, with some of the other items teased out, like
Yeah.
if we take money out of the carryover to do a project or something.
Okay.
And the capital improvement line,
Mhm.
What we've put in, what we've allocated it for, and what we have outstanding.
Okay.
And then, our budget stabilization and Medicaid.
Okay.
Those funds, I think, is really where I would manage from with tracking revenue.
Okay. And we did not do the fourth quarter payment into the budget stabilization. I think we wanted to kind of see how 2018 settled, and then I was a little cautious with the, not getting any ICE money. Didn't know how long that was gonna last and how soon it would start coming back in. So I didn't necessarily recommend it for January, but it's something that we'll need to look at again.
All right, commissioner reports. This is a new addition to the agenda, just an opportunity for each commissioner to update the rest of us on meetings they've attended, or information they might have. Holly, do you have anything?
Yes, a couple of things. Couple related from the OSS meeting that I was the representative at this month. And one is just the schedule of all the recycling things for 19, so we'll have that out there. Another is, and I didn't have a chance yesterday to follow up on this, because this meeting was Monday, but Ottawa and Sandusky County had reached out to Tim at OSS about recycling abilities of the old voter equipment. And so they had a call in, but as of that morning, that he had not had information from our Board of Elections. But if, basically the board, OSS board, moved to remove the cost out of our discretionary money to fund each individual county's cost based on the amount of the cost of that recycling, and to handle that if that's the wishes of the counties to have that done. So that'll lower our discretionary monies that we get, which we by budget set at $35,000 this year from OSS. So the estimate was around $2,000 per county, give or take, is what that will do. But that will get rid of that equipment if that's the desire of those Board of Elections to do so. And then there's a little bit of money recouped from of scrapping some parts of things, so. But anyway, so that, just wanted to make sure I shared that. And again, I meant to follow up with Jim or Lori yesterday, but I just to get that done. The other thing was, I know we all saw it, but, and Kathy's is now gone, but that 1.1 million that's coming in from the federal program for the Foster a Youth Build. I had the opportunity, thanks with Jimmy's helping me with an agenda of things on the radio this morning to talk about that, and I just think that's a phenomenal program with a whole bunch of people involved in it, and just like to acknowledge that work. You can read more on that. And again, back to Board of Elections, the trainings that our directors, the 2 directors and 1 board member have gone through, not required, but additional certifications they're getting that just makes them even more qualified and prepared for things with their services. That's it.
Commissioner Kirchner?
Okay, well, we got a report from SSI, is that the name of the software? The VIP services, and I know that we haven't really had the opportunity to review it in detail, but what I'd like to do is put together a representative group of department heads and or electeds to go over that report and to make some recommendations to this board regarding administration of the software and regarding fixes that SSI suggested for the VIP, et cetera. So I think probably the best thing to do is to have one representative from this group so that we can make the recommendations. Holly, I don't know if you want to do it because it's kind of in the technology area. I'd be happy to do it, but I don't.
I'm glad to, whatever, doesn't matter.
Okay.
She did reach out to me, and so I do have a tentative meeting scheduled with her on the 11th.
That's what you like.
Just to go over it with her, because I gave the report to her too. So.
Okay. All right, but I think that we probably need to get other folks involved, Kathy being one of them, or her administrator when it relates to this. And there are a number of folks who had some input and some training is necessary. And anyway, so either you or I, it's okay?
Yeah, you guys have been far more engaged in this issue than I have, so
All right, we'll figure that out. Okay.
appreciate you following through with that.
Yep, that'd be good.
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to mention is that we do have the Carnegie Library that's going to be up for sale, and if anybody needs to see that, reach out to Stacy, myself, Mike, or Holly, and we'll make sure that it happens because we want to get some interest in that building. And do we have a date for the sale yet?
No. We've got the contract signed, so we just got it. It's in here today, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is, okay,
Yeah, so once we get that signed, we'll pick a date. We're leaning towards spring,
right.
so we'll have a couple.
Spring's coming.
Yep, we'll have a couple months of advertising, and so we're thinking April.
That would be spring.
That would be spring.
Good. Any adjustments today? Anybody want to add anything? All right. Old business. Airport.
Yes. We got the appraisal moving forward, and then Stantec sent us the contract for the appraisal reviewer. He had gotten some quotes from a few different ones, and this company that he recommended, CBRE, actually did the appraisal review for the last property, so he recommended this one. This is what we'll need to have the different appraisals that we've done. This reviewer comes in and basically reviews the appraisals and,
So has there been a third appraisal?
well, our second,
Okay, plus the one that Brad
plus
did.
the one Brad did, yes,
And these folks are going to do the appraisal, review the appraisal?
review.
Okay.
We actually did get the second one done.
Oh, it's not done
Oh,
yet,
yeah,
but
it's just-
they're working on it, yes. Yeah, we approved that a couple weeks ago. So they're working on that. So I do have a contract for that that I can add into the agenda, if any questions on it.
What is the cost for the appraisal review?
That is $2,000.
So we'll be paying $2,500 for the appraisal and $2,000 to have an appraisal review,
Yes.
plus how much do we pay for the first appraisal? 2,000?
Yeah, yeah.
So we'll have $6,500 and, okay.
Yep. When we move forward with the project, the FAA does reimburse.
If
some.
we get to an agreed upon.
If we do get to an agreed upon, yep.
Okay. Sure you don't, we don't need one more reviewer?
You might.
Yeah, you wanna do it?
Shoot,
How much?
I'll be less than 2,000.
So are you going to add that in?
Yeah.
for-
Yeah.
Okay, FEDC contract.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure we revisited FEDC. I wasn't sure if Renee was gonna be able to make it over today. But we have both the contracts, SIDEX or TSEP, and Fostoria out there yet to approve. And, we got the money put in place, so I just wanted to make sure if there was any other questions, anything that Renee needed to answer, because they were looking to, start moving forward and
Sure.
gonna request their funds, and so we gotta get the contract approved first, so. And if you guys had a chance to look at it,
I didn't have any.
I would accept the motion.
I will so move that we accept it, you said, I'm sorry, Derek has approved,
yes,
but we accept the Foster Economic Development contract or agreement as presented.
Second.
and we would like to do retroactive to January 1st, if you're okay with that.
Yes.
Yes,
Discussion.
I think so.
I just want to say that I think FEDC's done a great job, and Renee's done a great job, and I'm glad we can reward them. Well, we have the budget to do that, and we'll review that contract.
2021.
So, yeah, we'll have that opportunity at that time.
And as I said on the radio this morning, I think it's, just, we've had a great cooperative relationship with both economic development organizations. It's just that this is formalizing the process, which in the long haul is best for everybody, so it's nothing really unusual, just different forms.
Roll call.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes. And we believe that TSEP's final contract will be forthcoming soon.
Hopefully within the week. That's feeling pretty good about it, yes.
Yeah.
You'll have it before next meeting.
We're seeing the end of those conversations go. New business, cemetery drive estimate. So, we have some of that recycle money available, and I had asked if we could just get an estimate to see if we don't have a higher, better use for that money, if we could use it for the drive to the cemetery. And Engineer Zimmerman graciously agreed to do that design and estimate for us, and we received that, and it was $78,000, and we have $85,000 sitting in that recycle money line that needs to be spent by June 30th, I believe is the date, June 1st. June 30th.
I think 50 by June 1st and then
The
the
rest of it by the
35
end of
by
the year.
the end of the year.
End of the year,
So-
okay. So in 20, yeah. So, that's a viable project. It is part of the active transportation plan to get us connected over to Port Road, which would get us under 224 and out to Infirmary. So it does have multiple purposes, and I know that, previous boards, I think spearheaded by the Boy Scouts and Fred, have put a lot of money into that indigent
Yeah.
cemetery
The town's prompting, yeah.
at Tom's prompting. And I know there had been some interest in that, so it served a couple purposes, but it's now to a point of we can make a decision or not, or we can look for other projects for that.
Well, I think it would give good access to the cemetery that's been neglected for a number of years, and if it becomes part of the transportation system, and that's a good link to getting that done. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't, and we've got the recycle money to do it with, so it's not coming out of general.
And I was just gonna ask, since you've been the most involved with the active and brought that to us, the active transportation plan, I don't know on a scale of 1 to 5, how important is this, or how much of a difference does it make for that plan to have this done?
It's a big chunk of the link.
Okay.
It really is.
Assumed and.
So then we just have to make the next jump over to Port Road, and then we're all the way out to the county farm.
So how much of a length is this, and how wide is it, do you recall?
I don't have the.
I've got the estimate here, I don't know if measurements are on.
The only reason I'm asking is how does that compare to the next jump?
This is probably 2/3, the next is probably
Oh,
a
okay,
third.
all right, well, that's, okay, that's, I didn't know if this was, a third and 2/3.
Yeah.
78,000,
12
oh,
foot
okay.
And this is designed beyond the size of just a path,
Yeah.
so that, when we have to take equipment back there, or a vehicle, or, if there's a procession, there's plenty of road it's road, and there'll be a turnaround so that, people can get down there and not get stuck. And.
We need to extend it on because we don't want a dead end.
Yeah.
Okay, I will move that we use 78,000?
That's the estimate, yeah.
78,000.
We'll have to
We'll
put
have
it
to
to
put
bid.
it to bid.
Okay,
Yeah.
Second.
so we need, put it to bed. Do you need a motion on that, or you just got it?
No, we'll just get the bids
Okay.
ready, and then I'll bring those to you, set a time and date for the bids, if that's okay.
Thank you.
Very
Okay.
good.
All right,
Do we need to vote?
Stacy, you're on.
Do we need to vote on
Do you-
No, I don't.
She said,
No, we can do that when we do we'll get the bid specs done and then we'll come back for.
We needed it.
Okay, I actually only have one financial. And, did forget to pop it up on the screen, but I only have one. It is a request from the sewer district for an additional $840 into their, slowly get it up here.
Basket capital
Yep,
improvement.
Bascom Capital Improvements, and it's for cage level sensor, repair to the Bascom pump station, life expectancy is more than 5 years. That's the note she had in it, and that's the only one of those I have. I have a resolution, oh yeah, we did, the auditor's office has asked us for a resolution approving all supplemental appropriation and appropriation adjustments submitted through the VIP system for the board sessions in 2019, instead of us doing a generic resolution every week. We did one for 2019, and then once you guys log in, that's your approval. So we've
Okay.
got this retroactive to January 1st. I have a resolution establishing the federal opioids specific grants fund. This is at the request of Mental Health and Recovery Services Board. I have a resolution for the appointment of special counsel for the Seneca County Health District, retroactive to January 30th, 2019. I have a resolution authorizing the sale of county-owned property. I have a 2009 Ford Crown Victoria. The sheriff's office sold on GovDeals for $925. He had a 2007 that he sold on GovDeals for $625. I have a resolution entering into contract with Bill Jones, Remax Real Estate and Auction Services for the auction of 108 Jefferson Street. I have a resolution authorizing the FY19 Airport Improvement Program pre-grant application with the FAA for the land acquisition, taxiway pavement rehabilitation. This is the one we submitted last year and we did not get it, so it's a re-application. Authorizing Mike to sign. I have a resolution authorizing contract service agreement with NCOESC to provide all necessary and appropriate staff instruction for the Seneca County Youth Center. And I have a resolution authorizing the participation agreement with CCAO Services. This is for the natural gas, the electric, and the 2 aggregations that we have. And they even included solar, if we get any solar purchasing programs. And then I have to do the entering into contract with, see if they have their full name on here. I guess they're just called CBRE for the appraisal review contract. And those are all I have.
The only question I had about these is special counsel for the health department. What's that all about?
That is for the landfill. The special counsel for the Sunny Farms landfill. They wanted to get an attorney involved, and Derek wasn't. He recommended a special attorney
Okay.
in case it's necessary.
See, do we put a limit on the amount?
They're paying it. The only reason the resolution got brought to us is because Derek's the attorney, and we have to allow this special.
Awesome. Okay, all right.
So they're covering all costs.
All right, I'm okay with that one.
Move to approve. Resolution as stated.
Yeah, I'd like to pull out the FAA
Oh.
appraisal review to a separate motion if we could. So, make a motion to approve all.
All with the exception of the
Yeah.
review appraisal for the airport.
I will second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes. And then a motion for the FAA.
Yeah, I'll move to approve the airport appraisal review.
I will
Presented.
second. I will second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
No. All right. Work well done. And we have guests at 11. So would we like to move to our guest presentations?
I don't think we're all here.
Not all year?
Got 2 more coming.
Okay, good, all right.
We're a little ahead of schedule.
Yeah, we're ahead of schedule.
It
Look
usually
at us.
doesn't happen.
Public comments. Yes, sir.
My name's Tom Brideball. I have a concern about this path you're going to put down that road for the cemetery. I don't think that road has a good base. There's nothing but cinders underneath there, plus now it's great because of all the recycled blacktop. But you're gonna do this road on top of that road?
Yeah, I
Is that
talked to
the
Mark.
idea?
That's a good point. I talked to Mark about that. He said everything has to come out and a new base has to be put in, and that's included in the
That's
in the
where I was
estimate.
going. That's
Yeah.
where I was going, because these farmers are pretty rough on these roads. And that wouldn't, I don't think the way it is now would take it, but,
Yeah, I asked Mark that. He said, yeah, everything's got to come out for it to be.
okay,
Yeah, good question.
okay, thank you.
David, did you have?
Our annual meeting for the Tiffin Seneca Economic Partnership, open to the public, March the 7th, 5:30 social hour, 6 to 7 dinner, and then the meeting wraps up promptly at 8:30. We present awards to great local organizations. We talk about the year in review, we talk about the year ahead. It'll be on March the 7th. You can go to tsep2019.com to register.
Do we usually get a table at that, or do we reserve?
No, we don't usually reserve a table, but
We should
We
write
try
that
to
into our
find it.
contract.
Hey, I like the way you think.
Include the table.
He's gonna get a table, he just hasn't done it yet.
We got room for 3.
And we also announced today that Downtown Summit Party will be September 4th at Chandelier.
I can, wow, yes, it is on, trying to get that quick. It is on September 4th. 5:30.
5:30. Also, another great event that TSEP puts on, so. Other public comments? Mr. Nutter?
Congratulations, Stacy.
thank you.
Proud of you.
All right. Are we full staff? Full force?
Sure.
All right, we have an update today. If you guys wanna, if anybody wants to come up and present, or if you want to state your names, introduce yourselves. that'd be
We're
great.
just here on behalf of CASA, and part of our strategic plan is to meet with elected officials and public and try to put out what it is exactly we do and our purpose and how it benefits the people of Seneca County. We're a tri-county agency. Before I go too much further, we brought a pro in to speak with us. This is Michelle Miller. But I'm Dean Keller. I'm president of First National Bank of Sycamore. And I'm also president of CASA. And so I'll let Michelle talk here, and then if you have any questions, you can follow up.
Like Dean said, we're just kind of updating the public on what CASA does. A lot of people are confused on what we exactly do. A lot of people think we're a Mexican restaurant or clearing the air across the 3 counties. We stand for court-appointed special advocates. We train normal people in the community to advocate for abused and neglected children in court. And through that process, these children get guardian ad litems, and they get someone to represent them in court and make sure their best interest is always being looked out for. You have, in that type of situation, you have mom and dad in court and their attorneys and children's services there, and they're all kind of discussing this family, but we are here in the courtroom only for the child, and we gotta make sure their school needs, counseling needs, anything emotional is being taken care of with this child. And we're a nonprofit organization, so we have our fundraisers throughout the year. We have our big Sandusky County fundraiser coming up, Stars Dancing for CASA, and then in our Tiffin fundraiser we'll have in October the Tiffin Zombie Run. So we're excited for those two, and hopefully a Wyandotte County one to start up next year.
And you also rent space to construction contractors, right?
Yes.
Unrelated income.
So if someone wants to get involved, how do they contact you? What's the process? How do we?
They can call us. We have a website that's up, and we have Facebook, social media. They can message us through that. We have our trainings twice a year. We're trying to start one up in the summer as well, but our next training will be in April, and it's a 30-hour training process, half online, half in person, and it just goes over the process of how to advocate for children in court. Unfortunately, we cover a lot of drug epidemic stuff, since that's 70% of our cases we're dealing with now, and the child developmental stages and how to look out for mental situations like that.
One of the benefits for the county of having a CASA, an active CASA in the county, is the cost to you. It's done by volunteers. Otherwise, an attorney has to be appointed as a guardian ad litem. And of course, they charge their professional fees on that. And I think the other benefit too, and I'm not knocking any attorney that does that, but a volunteer brings a certain amount of compassion and commitment to those kids that they're representing that I don't think you can duplicate in a professional setting. So
And I've looked up some of our numbers for the past 5 years in Seneca County specifically. They've actually been pretty consistent. 2014 we served 57 children, 2015 was 54, and then 2016 was 46, 2017 was 47, and then last year we served 50 children. Volunteers that are in the county fluctuate between 14 to 18. Taking those cases on.
And they got some very good volunteers, and it's there's a high attrition rate in volunteers, because it's usually, you could speak better. This is Tracy Kress, she's our executive director.
Hi.
And also Doug Kent, he's also on the board of directors. But it seems like, one or two cases, a lot of times people, that's about all they can go through. But then you've got some really high performing volunteers that really stick with it over the years. And because of that high turnover, that's why we're kind of out trying to get the word out that we need volunteers, and that, what exactly our mission is and how it benefits our community.
Most of our volunteers tend to be older in age, retired. They do have the time to commit to following this case. They usually last about 2 years, so they have that time available to spend with visiting the child monthly, investigating all the records that come with investigating an abuse or neglect case. So they're always running into health issues, or maybe they're taking a break to spend time with grandkids. So we are always looking for volunteers. Our numbers, I think last year we gained 16 volunteers across the 3 counties, but we also lost about 8 within that year process. So it's a continuous battle to try to get more volunteers for our organization.
The numbers for Seneca County have been kind of consistent, but in Wyandotte County, I think you guys have those numbers, but it went up pretty significantly. What would they go up?
We had 4 volunteers last year, and then the years before, last year we gained 4 more, so we doubled our numbers in that. And that's the volunteers. With the actual cases that we have, it tripled last year with the amount of cases that we had. So we're really trying to get volunteers there. And Sandusky County, that's our probably biggest county, has a very high number of cases that's consistently rising.
Do you have an idea how many cases are in Sandusky County?
You might have the better.
Okay. Open cases right now, 70.
70 open, so
Yes.
in a year you might see 90 kids?
In a year in Sandusky County, we serve about 130.
130 compared to 50 in Seneca?
Yes.
Wow.
One of the differences is in Seneca County, the court does utilize attorneys as guardian ad litems for abuse cases. And in Sandusky County, they use CASA for abuse cases. There's a law that says that abused children have to, if they've been alleged to be abused, they have to have an attorney. And Seneca County interprets that as an attorney guardian ad litem. Sandusky County uses a CASA guardian ad litem and an attorney. So.
Well, Dean, thanks to you and your board and the volunteers that are there. God bless you and the work that you guys do. You've been around a long time. CASA's been in Seneca County for how long?
Since 1990.
1990.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good for you. It's been a very valuable community service for the entire county. So thank you.
Thank you. And
If you have
thank our volunteers too. The ones that
Yeah,
really-
it's amazing all the volunteer hours that are put on a lot of things.
Yep.
Yeah, and we'll be happy to push stuff out on our social media as well. If you guys have events coming up or volunteer recruitment, we're happy to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for coming in. Anything else for the good of the order?
Think not.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.